Yo, what's poppin'? So, we have 3 games from Impact today. There were 2 of them that had some pretty major implications for playoffs because, so we have the Soul Dynasty and the Charge, we have the Valiant and the Hunters, and then we have the Dragons and the Fusion. So Hunters and Valiant determined which one of them could get into the playoffs, or into the midseason tournament. The winner of that got in. And then Philly and Shanghai was they're also in the playoff race against each other because one of them could make it. Well, both of them could make it in. But the one that wins it obviously has a better chance because they're playing against each other. So 2 very important games just had the playoffs. But yeah, so first up, the not important one, the Seoul Dynasty 6-2 with a +10 against the Guangzhou Charge 1-8 with a -18. So quick 3-0 for Seoul, just the better team. So Coliseum was kind of close, I guess, because it was a 120 to 109 for Seoul, but it's close, kind of, but not really. So Soul playing Prophet Stalker, Smurf, Creative, and Vindame. Charge playing Develop, Choice A1, Krong, Unique, and Farway 1987. So Soul running the Hanzo Sojourn, Sigma Bat Brig. The only difference is no difference, actually. The Charge are also running out. So the Charge are actually opting to mirror. So Soul come off the rip and they get a lot of picks. And then the Charge stagger, and it ends up in a large amount of distance for basically one fight win. And they basically get like their 104, I want to say, or something like that, meters off of one fight win. So just an absurd amount of fight winning there, of like value for a fight win. USA One has a really good map though. He basically won, I want to say, like 4 fights just alone for the Charge and got them to 109 on the Hanzo. Just crazy. He even had a ricochet kill on a Storm Arrow, which was really good. But other than Choice One and maybe Krong sometimes, there was really not a lot of life from the Charge. So it's not a developed series. Develop last series he played, he showed up. This series, he's just not there. Same with Faraway, same with Unique. Well, Unique's never really there. I think Unique's probably a pretty big weak point on this roster, but Choice One was the only one who really showed up. And it's like Seoul almost let them have 120 because they were playing the safe way of we don't really want to push up and get as much space as we want. Um, and it was always in their favor. Maybe if Charge don't, like, you can say, oh, if Charge don't stagger and Seoul don't get that 104, then it would be different. And they do get another 120, so they do push forward even more. But I don't know. It's like once you have the lead, you play differently from if you want to expand your lead. And there was still a fight win from winning, and they had to win a fight at like 120, and then they had to win another fight in mid, and then they probably had to win another fight and then another fight, right? Just not viable for the Charge. So it's like it's close, kind of, but not really. It wasn't really close. Would have been very difficult. But Smurf had a good Sigma showing. Uh, and yeah, so just Choice A1 show. Dorado is a 3-1 for Soul. Fitz comes back in for Stalker. Fitz being the normal, I would say the more played of the two. On Soul's offense, the Charge actually look pretty good on A. They're playing Ash, Tracer, Doom, Brig, Ana. Soul playing Tracer, Widow, Doom, Ana, Brig. So both teams with the Doom and the Tracer and the Brig, Ana. It's just depending on which one you want to do. So Fitz gets an immediate pick, but Krong dies with Choice I1 and he gets 2. Krong will eventually die, but Choice I1 will get another kill before he dies. So basically a lot of trades coming out from the Charge, and Seoul do get to push through the choke, but it's not like a fight win. It's like kind of a push through, but it was pretty good. But they do lose the next fight, right? Or they don't. They don't actually. They stabilize near the end with the card at the end of A. But then Fitz goes big. Soul basically just go past Krong and they head into B with 3 minutes. And after this, it's just Charge forget how to play Overwatch. They just sit around and they never actually make another dive, basically. And it's basically one fight win for Soul to win. And they take the aggression. They go up there with their Tracer and their Doomfist. They win. They go into C. It's the same thing. And basically charges don't touch the point at all. And I didn't get to see defense because my power went out, and then it took a while for my internet to come back. It took like my power like went out for like a minute or something. Uh, so I didn't get to see it, but I did see some Crown Diva from what I looked at. I saw some Smurf Winston, which is always nice. And I saw Charge not even make it to the bridge on B. So, I don't know. Krong on Diva, not sure. Maybe they've given up on Rio. I kind of like that decision. I think Rio is horrible. Not good. But, yeah. Pretty solid win there. Eichenwald's a 3-0 for Seoul. It's just a roll. It's just a roll. They had one death at the end. They finished the map with 408. It was over. Stalker came back in. So Soul playing a Hanzo, Sojourn, Sigma, Bat, Brig. Charge playing Sojourn, Echo, Sigma, Brig, Bat. But it's just a roll. Prophet got a kill. They just rolled A with 5 minutes. They just roll high ground. They actually win a 4v5 basically because the whole time they're fighting up on the castle, Prophet just pushes point. He just pushes it. I think he swaps Tracer after A maybe or something, and he just pushes the point. And Krong hits a Flux, and it's not enough. Smurf doesn't hit, like misses his Flux, but so still come out on top of the 4v5 and head to C with 5 minutes, and they straight up just rolled him. Like it's just a roll. It's just over. On the offense, they get their second kill after getting one total on the defense, but Soul just win all the time. I don't think they're playing Sigma. I believe they're on a dive comp, but it's just nothing getting done from the Charge. So overview, Say 1 actually made the first map competitive, but if it wasn't for him, it would have been a roll. And a defensive Dorado was okay for a fight or two, but after that, it was just Soul. Just a much better team in every way. Kind of what we expected going into this. I predicted 3-0 for Charge. No, I predicted 3-0 for Soul. Just crazy. Soul didn't even need to use ults to win fights on Dorado. They legit won the fights because they were more proactive. So they were more proactive. They got there. Charge were so passive that they didn't even get multiple fights on points, and then they just used the ults that they didn't need to use, and they just won with them. It was great. It's just Soul, you know. So Tom to play the match, gonna go to Smurf for his Sigma looking actually good. He outperformed Kronk Sigma, I would say, even though he like missed a Flux or stuff like that. He was starting to shape up like a Zarya did. Right at the start of last stage, Zarya was kind of whatever, but at the end it was solid and it ended up winning. Kind of feeling the same vibe here for the Sigma. But yeah, Charge didn't really pressure him at all, and he was kind of free to do whatever he wanted. He went even on the Winston, he was kind of free to do whatever. So shout out to Smurf. Moving on to the LA Valiant against Chengdu Hunters. I predicted 3-2 Val. What it actually was a 3-0 for the Hunters. Just a 3-0. So Valiant 3-5 -2, Hunters 4-5 with a -1. They get to play Charge yesterday, so that's why their score improves that much. So new Queen Street is 109 to 87 for the Hunters. Valiant playing Innovation, Ezhan, Sasin, Langza, and Molly. Chengdu playing Jinmu, Leaf, Gaga, Monk, Nisha, as you would expect. Valiant playing Sombra, Sojourn, Zarya, Lucio, Zen. Chengdu playing Tracer, Sojourn, Winston, Ana, Lucio. And this is Valiant was in the lead for the majority of this, but they were winning all of their fights off of EMP grab team wipes, basically, or Ezhan, as it was in the first fight. Ezhan just got some good picks. So Ezhan actually was pretty good there. But outside of that combo, or Ezhan getting the kills, which he didn't really do as the map went on, they didn't have any way to win. They had ways to like draw out the fight. They had ways to lose the fight and then come back and win the next one. But they never like didn't have a lot of options to win the fight. Because what does the Zarya do? What does the Sombra do other than use their ults? Not a lot, especially when Sombra has no one else to dive with. And it allowed Chengdu to basically win a neutral fight, and then they could roll with ults, and then it let them build their lead quite well. Whereas Valiant, the only way they could stop them the momentum was to use their ults, and then once you use the ults, you can't get the lead back, basically, because you have to win multiple fights in a row without your combo that's been winning you every fight, so it just didn't work out. So Chengdu, really good on them to win the neutral fight and gain the lead, but I don't like this comp from Valiant. I see the vision kind of, but I don't really see the vision, you know. Circle Royale's a 3-2 for Chengdu. Dia comes in for Innovation. Marvel comes in for Sasan, and Daisy comes in for Gaga. Right, so Valiant offense, we see the Widow, Sojourn, Sigma, Brig, Zen. Chengdu sees Hanzo, Widow, Sigma, Zen, Bap. So Valiant enjoying the Brig, and Chengdu enjoying the Bap. I like the Bap more, but the Brig ends up on top sometimes. So Eshan kind of just rolls Valiant through A. He has a good showing. Chengdu get held up on B for a bit, but Marvel does a play where he like goes very deep on the Sigma to find the leave on Widow, and he does kill him, but he dies. He's in a very mispositioned. However, the rest of Valiant just kind of hang around for a bit, and as they're getting pushed out by Chengdu, Marvel comes back. He's able to hit a very good flex because Chengdu are pushed aggressively up to try and stagger these kills, and off of the flex plus Dia in the like hitting things from the flex, they go into C. And C is very interesting because they get held up and it looks pretty bad for them. But Ezhan turns a lost fight basically by getting a 2K pulse bomb, and then Molly finds another in that fight, and it looks like they're gonna be able to cap out. But Jinmu takes down Marvel, so then Valiant don't have any real cart pressure and they can't complete the map. And after that, they don't find a way to win. So it was very hype. Ezhan kind of like either showing up big time or being very quiet. So he either like kills two with big picks, or he dies first very often. So that a little unfortunate, but it's a good showing. That's better than consistently doing nothing, right? It was good. On Chengdu's offense, they're playing the Genji, Widow, Sigma, Zen, Brig. On Valiant on the defense, playing the same thing except the Tracer instead of the Genji. And Jinmu does a really interesting play off the rip where he climbs over the building that the Florida Mayhem illegal wall incident happened on, and he gets into the backline and he kills Molly. And Valiant just kind of fall over. And Leave, it's because Leave is just pounding. Leave is getting like 3 a fight. It might have been Leave that got Molly, actually. I don't entirely remember which one got Molly, but Molly died. And Leave is just killing them all. He picks them to stop him from recontesting, so they get 5 minutes into B, and then he kills more. And they have 5:40 going to C. 5 minutes and 40 seconds going into C on Circuit Royale is phenomenal, and it's because Leave is just that guy. He's just that guy. It does take Chengdu a while to finish the map, though. It's a little harder for Widowmaker on the offense on C. Like it's already a little bit harder to be that dominant on A and A specifically. But on C, it's actually difficult because you don't have a lot of angles on the backline because they play up on the pool area and you don't really have a good sight line. But as Jinmu slowly pushes the cart to the end, he goes for a blade play, and Dia ends up dying to him. Or Dia does to leave, and it does look good. This is not the last fight. My apologies. This is what happened. Jinmu slowly pushes the cart. They go for a blade play. Dia dies to leave, and it looks good. But Ezhan pops off, standard Ezhan fashion, kills 2. And Valiant hold on. But the next fight, Jinmu finds a way to get on top of Dia. Marvel ends up dying, and Chengdu win. So Chengdu managed to cap out, but it's off the back of Leave being crazy. And if they don't have all that time on C, it actually probably because they get held on C for like a pretty significant amount of time. So King's Row ends up being a 3-2 for Chengdu. Becky comes in for Ezhan, Sasan comes in for Marvel, and Gaga comes for Daisy. Valiant's offense, we see Hanzo, Echo, Zarya, Brigana from Valiant. Chengdu, we see as Tracer, Sojourn, Winston, Zen, Ana. So I don't love the Zarya. I didn't make my notes, I see. My other ones, but whatever. So Valiant kind of just roll A. Chengdu dives and just die. And Dia goes crazy. And Valiant heading to B with 5-10, right? But yeah, just kind of, Valiant stuff. Okay, so upon reading the notes more proficiently, we have seen I've seen that Chengdu hold them up for a bit on B. Leave goes crazy. Leave basically wins another fight because he's that guy. Jimmu, however, gets cut out and he gets slept and he dies early. Chengdu kite back and Jimmu swaps with the Echo. And Sawson is looking for a grab at this point. Dia finds 2, and then he kills another 3, so he kills 5 total with Grab Dragon. I don't know if you needed to Grab Dragon there after killing 2 early. I feel like you probably can hold that and try and expand your time bank into C, but whatever. Sure. Jimmu swaps over to Hanzo now, and Valiant push with a Nano. Monk is forced to trank, and Sawson grabs early after they get held up a bit. My bad. And Dia doesn't have Dragon. So he built it, like, it is a fast grab. Like, it's probably, like, the next fight. But Dia doesn't have Dragon. And Leave goes crazy again, because it's just Leave. You know, it's just Leave. Yeah, they hold on. Because Chengdu goes aggressive. They end up being, like, inside B. We see Leave there on B with an overclock available. And the flank is too much, and Valiant die. And now Chengdu offense, they just roll. It's just a roll. They literally have 547 going to C. They held up there for, like, a fight, but it doesn't matter. Gaga Primal goes crazy. Sawson didn't even get grab up. It's just a roll. Chengdu came to play. So Overview knew Queen Street was close for a bit, but Valiant's comp just not able to win fights without their ults. On that map, it's just not possible. Whereas Chengdu were able to win with their ults. And it's kind of the same thing on the King Zero. I don't love Sawson in whenever you have Marvel anymore, because Marvel is just more flexible. You're not stuck on the Zarya comp. Like, that's the only thing Sawson has. It's the only thing he's better than Marvel has. Marvel has a better Sigma. He's a good Sigma. He does a good every tank. Every tank is solid. He is a jack of all trades. Sawson is a master of Zarya. Yeah, sure. He can be a master of Zarya, but Zarya's not great. I don't know. I don't like trying to force these Zarya comps. You don't need to anymore. Just stop it. How is Zarya, like, I can see how Zarya is okay here, but I think the flexibility of the Sigma or the Winston or the Doomfist that if you want from Marvel is just better. Segura was all Leave. Dia was very quiet, I found. Dia, he was getting some picks every now and then, but Leave, compared to Leave, he was not there. Leave was just doing so much, so often, on all maps. And I guess that's what you expect. He's the player of the match for me. He has to be. He was just killing 3 on Widow. Like, he's just doing it. It's just a thing he was doing. There's not much else to say. Like, how could he not be? He was fragging so hard. In every situation. On the Tracer, even, too, on King's Row, he was going crazy. On the Genji, doesn't matter, he's Leave. He can deploy whatever he wants. On the Sojourn, probably. Actually, Jinmu was on the Tracer mostly, right? So Jinmu Tracer is good. But it's just Leave. Gaga Winston also was very good. There was a time on New Queen Street where he got like a 4K in what looked to be a losing fight. His primals were very strong. And it was impressive to see Gaga. It's interesting because we're calling Chengdu like the ball team, like it was a ball meta team, but really has been their Winston that they've been playing well. We've seen them switch over to the Winston so often, and Gaga's Winston has improved. And I thought the point where you can't just say, "Oh, they're the ball team." They're not. They're just not anymore. They're a real team on the Winston. I feel like the switch from Soldier to Sojourn has helped more than ball being better in this meta. So, yeah. Moving on to the Shanghai Dragons. 5-3 with a -2 against the Philly Fusion. 4-5 with a 0. Ends up being I credit 3-0 Philly, but it actually was a 3-0 for Shanghai. I know it said 3-1 Philly, but that's not what I credit. I credit 3-0. 3-0 for Shanghai. So we have a 9-0 day, and those are 2 pretty important matches. So Coliseum is a 64-46 with Shanghai. Shanghai playing Lip Fleta, Fate, Izayaki, Li Jaegon. Philly playing MN3, Zest, Fury, Aim God, Fixa. So Shanghai, Sojourn, Tracer, Balls, and Brig. Philly, Ashe, Genji, Sigma, Zen, Ana. So 2 very differing playstyles here. We see the Ball from Fate versus the Sigma. Both of these have seen success on Coliseum. I think the Sigma gets played. I think off the top of my head, I think the Sigma gets played more, but it's pretty even. So I don't have my notes here because I didn't take intense notes. They're not intense. I don't want to say intense, but I didn't take them all the time. So Fate was just cogging a lot. He was doing some cogging, just spinning around. MN3 took out Lee Jagon early, and what we've seen off of this, right, is we see Philly win the first fight. But these two teams were in between. They like neither team made it through the Coliseum area for a while. It took both of them a while to actually get past 30 meters, past the Coliseum mark. And Philly was just on top a little bit. They had like 31 to 30, but it wasn't enough. And then Lip swaps over to the Sojourn, and he builds the overclock, and he like kills 4 and a bomb. Like, Lip on Sojourn was an absolute force, just an absolute force. And I have him on Sojourn already. Did he load out Sojourn and he didn't swap Sojourn? I'm just talking. I'm just saying. I just typed this for no reason. I think so. I think that was fake. He was always on the Sojourn. He builds the overclock and he kills 4 with Bob, and he's an absolute monster on this character. They actually gain some real ground under the bridge, and they use a lot of ults to get to it, and they don't get the checkpoint, but it's still worth it in the end. And so Philly come back and they rally, they get the supports, and they head back in overtime. Right? They use a lot of ults to get the 64, and Philly are forced to use ults to get them out of 64 to send them back. Right? And so Fury hits a Flux and it forces Ziyaki to trank, but then Fleta kills both supports and Shanghai win. And that was it. So it's a pretty close map, but it took a long time for either team to get out of the Coliseum. But Fleta and Fate were syncing up quite well in the Tracer Ball. At the pile drives were good, and Lip was just pounding. Lip on the Sojourn was very impressive. And I think it was just a DPS diff, honestly. Zest is very quiet, and MN3 is very quiet for the most part. Yeah, they both had moments where they popped off, but really, Lip and Fleta played much better. And Zest had taken a back seat. I expect more from Zest. And this match has kind of made me reconsider like how high I've been rating for Rookie of the Year. Yeah, like one match isn't everything, right? Of course it isn't. But I think consistently he has been like, it's been a step down for him. Like even last match against Spark, it was a step down compared to what he was doing in the kickoff clash. Maybe it was just his meta then. Now it's not as good. His Tracer's good, but it's not that good. His Genji's looks good, but Genji's not as good. Maybe. We haven't seen as much of it, at least. Gibraltar's a 3-0 for Shanghai. Belisria comes in. And it's not great for Philly, I must say. Shanghai's offense is a bit better for them because their defense isn't horrible. So Shanghai played Widow, Tracer, Balls, and Brig. Philly plays Sojourn, Genji, Winston, Ana, Lucio. Or not Lucio, Brig, my bad. But Belisria is struggling very hard on the Winston. He is not finding big dives onto the backline because it's Zen Brig. He's not really diving Lip because it's Lip on Widow far back. And it is a struggle. But and Zesta is very quiet, and the fight planning just feels odd. Like there are times where the fights are just not coming through. Like Shanghai getting to be with 330, right? And Belisria is stuck in the old spawn. It's not horrible because Shanghai like takes some losses as well, and Philly still gets shuttle control, but it's quite bad. And Philly like don't get a recontest. Like Shanghai win off of Ziyaki Trank, but that's not the important part. The important part is that Philly don't get a recontest on B at all, and you kind of expect that, and then they get staggered on the C, and the Philly dive just comes out and it's not winning, and they stall for a while. It's just not great. Shanghai ends up finishing the map for 36 seconds, which is it's watch point Gibraltar, so you don't want to see a map finish. We call it like a good defense, I would say, but. I don't know, Shanghai are looking okay now. Like they're not getting 3-0, right? They're up 2, but they're about to be up 3 maps. But I don't know. They're still not great. They're still not like Soul Dynasty level or anything like that. Philly's offense is just horrible though. It's trash. They push the car through the car wash. Belisria just dies, and they're just getting staggered. Zest is like setting up on B and trying to sync up their dive from there, but it's just not. There's nothing happening. They're getting super picked by Lip. They're getting super picked by Fleta. The ball pick is disrupting everything. Belisria swaps with a hog at one point. And at that point, I know you just know it's done. He does it for like 2 fights and it's just over. Nothing happens. He doesn't land a hook, I think. And Shanghai just win. So Shanghai continue to look good. Philly are really struggling. Lip is pounding. Fled is pounding. Bellistria is not doing anything. Zest is doing what he can, but it's not a lot. Like nothing's getting done. And MN3 is being quiet. It's just a wrap. It's just a wrap. And it's like Philly were unable to do anything really. And like yeah, their defense wasn't horrible. They it's 36 seconds. That's not a ton, but it's not good. Uh that's not a top team right there. So Kings Row is a 5-4 for Shanghai. But it felt a lot more one-sided than that. A lot of people say, "Oh, the score is not the whole story." It's kind of true here because this felt like a Shanghai victory through and through. So Fury comes back in for Bellistria. Shanghai playing Sojourn, Tracer, Doom, Ana, Lucio on the defense. Philly playing Ashe, Genji, Zarya, Zen, Ana. And I don't like the Fate Doomfist because Zarya walks onto the point. Shanghai dive the back line and they just die. They just die. And Philly heading to be with 530. Fate swaps over to Winston at this point, and then Fury swaps to the Diva, maybe to pressure the Winston. But I don't know if that works. Philly are held up at the bookstore corner for a bit, but then Li Zhegan gets picked and Shanghai back up, just fine. Then they stabilize with Nano Fate on the cart, which buys them some time, but they don't really win the fight. They like get a pick, and like both teams just kind of sit there, but they don't win the fight. And then Shanghai dives, forces an aim god Trank, and Fate lives. He gets out barely, and gets a kill, I believe. But then Lip hits an overclock, he goes crazy. MN3 kills him, and then Lip swaps over to the Sombra. But Shanghai win the fight. And Fate is doing a really good job of diving in and out and not hard committing and still living at like 70 HP coming out. Like he's really being quite elusive. And Philly gets staggered quite hard. In overtime, they barely touch it. They're like Shanghai like push up into the spawn. They are getting big primal picks, getting good picks. The stagger's coming. It looks quite good, but Philly barely gets the overtime. And then Shanghai kind of gets stuck there, and Philly go past them onto the cart, and they go 130 into C. And Shanghai maybe a little over aggressive, a little too early. You need that aggression a little later, or you need to expand it more and stop the touch. But they get into C, and then Lip hits an EMP on Somber. He forces Trank, but it does nothing. Fate dies, and Philly just win and finish with 27 seconds. So there was no A, there was no C, but there was a really good B hold for Shanghai. That's basically it. On Shanghai's offense, their first offense, they take a long time to get through A because they're on Widow, Hanzo, Ball on a Brig, and Philly's on Sojourn, Genji, Sigma, Zen, Brap. Lip does get a quick pick, and it swaps over to Sojourn off the Widow. But Shanghai can't capitalize on it because how can they? They don't really have anything that can quickly move forward and like take that space and be aggressive because they just have the Ball, which is only to like set up the Sojourn or the Hanzo to get a pick. So it doesn't really work because you're not going fast with it. And you don't have a lot of good point presence either, and they don't touch the point for a while. Eventually, Fleta swaps over to the Tracer, but it's just not there. After like 2 minutes or so, Li Zhegan and Fate end up applying some point pressure, and they get something happening, and they get like 2 takes, but MN3 kills 2. Then they break through A. Fury swaps over to Zarya. Fleta Pulse forces aim god Trank, and Lip Overclock does stuff, and they're just going. But Shanghai are forced. Wait, never mind. They just break through A, break through B. Because Lip head up on the C. They get stopped for a bit. They get stopped for a good bit, like 2 fights, but they only needed to win 1 fight to win really. And Fleta bursts out on the Echo at the very end and killed both DPS, and they cap in overtime. So that was a little messy, but Shanghai cap, and they look good. Then on their offense, they just roll. They have a minute to go. They just win. They just win. They spend a whole minute posturing on A, and they just win. They get a bunch of kills. They head in the C, and Shanghai are stopped just before the end. They use their ults very well. Their ult efficiency was good, and it was just a roll. I don't know. Philly, they just dove through the Sigma. They don't care about the Sigma. Philly have a minute 27, right? And they come out on Reaper, Mei, Zarya, on Lucio, which catches Shanghai off guard and lets them cap cap A in a minute. But as soon as they get through B a little bit, Lip hits a good flank, and the dive comes out from Shanghai with Nano, and they just win. So the Zarya rush was okay, but it wasn't enough to try and get all the way to C. So overview, Lucio was competitive for a long time, was very competitive. But once Shanghai broke through the Coliseum area, it was kind of in their hands. And the other two maps are mostly Shanghai, I think, because Philly had a good offense on Kings Row, but Shanghai just had a horrible offense on AC, but their B was really good. Their offense was good. Extra rounds were all Shanghai. It was just all Shanghai mostly. On Gibraltar, that offense was horrible for Philly. Like that's just like that is embarrassing. And MN3 and Zest really need to step it up. And Belisria needs to step it up even. The whole team needs to step up because I don't even know what's going wrong with them. They just look lost. Something looks lost with them and they don't look right. So I don't know if they need to improve on their communication or their fight planning, their strategy. I'm not sure what it is. Something needs to get better. That being said, they were good enough to beat Spark yesterday. So maybe Shanghai were just that good. But I don't know. Anyway, player of the match going to go to Lip. He pounded. Onso joined all map. Absolute force. Off Sojourn, he was okay, but on Sojourn, he looked exceptional. His flanks were even timed well with the dives. Good stuff. And Shanghai, like as a whole, Shanghai looked like the actual team that had an identity, they knew what they wanted to do. And Philly can't say the same. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like this comment, like this video if you like it. Comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe for more daily archery content. Have yourself a good one.